Hey everyone, I got a very special unboxing today, and this is the brand new E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution 1.5 meter. Now I know what you're saying. In fact, I can already hear the guys on RC group saying it right now. It's another timber. No, so hold on a second here. So it's not just another timber. This new Timber Evolution is really considered, it's the next step up in the timber lineup, and it replaces the current Turbo Timber that replaced the original timber, which is the one that I own and currently have in the hangar. So really think of this timber as really a like the new model year timber. Like, so if you go to the car dealership and they have the new model coming out, the old one is gone, the new model is in. That's exactly what this is here. And the Timber Evolution really has taken a lot of the voice of customer from listening to the guys on the forums, the comments on Facebook, listening to the timber owners and applying what they've been asking for and what they are talking about and putting that into this new aircraft. And that's one of the things you're really going to see in the Turbo Timber Evolution as we kind of get it out of the box here and talk about it. You're going to see a lot of the improvements that are made, and these are really in a direct result of listening to the customers who have the original timber and the new Turbo Timber. So it's really the best of all the timbers, if you think of it that way. This is this is a new model of the timber. There really still remains only 4 timber models available. As I mentioned before, this is going to replace the Turbo Timber that exists today. So the lineup for timbers going forward will be the UMX Turbo Timber, which replaced the original timber, or UMX Timber, and you'll have the Turbo Timber Evolution, the Timber X, the more of the aerobatic 3D capable aircraft, and then you have the Night Timber. So we're still down to only 4 timbers. So yes, this is a new timber, but it's really a new model, a new version of the timber. And I think this one, the way I look at it, reading over the specs and everything on it, this really truly is the best one yet. It's got some increased durability, it's got some increased features, it's got a lot of really cool stuff they've done to it. It's a lot smarter than the previous ones as well, with a lot of the new smart technology in it. And so we're going to talk about that after we get everything out of the box here, and we kind of go through all the pieces and parts. And then we're going to go ahead and assemble the model, and then we're going to do a product overview video, and in which we are going to kind of explore all those features and benefits of everything they did inside this new Turbo Timber Evolution to make it really what I consider the best timber yet. And then so while I go ahead and get the Turbo Timber Evolution out of the box, let's just talk about a few things to start with. This new model here by far is the smartest, most capable, and durable timber yet. The E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution 1.5 meter is the most convenient, capable, and durable version of the popular STOL-capable model yet. Upgrades includes a top-mounted hatch, stronger gear mounts, smart electronics, and even more to make it better than ever. Many RC pilots, including myself, got their very first taste of a STOL-capable aircraft with the original E-flite Timber model. It was friendly handling, it had nimble sport performance, and takeoff and landing almost anywhere capabilities made it one of the most popular RC aircraft of all time. And it's widely acclaimed as a highly recommended as a next step aircraft after a trainer. That's kind of what I used mine for. It was kind of an advanced trainer, and this Turbo Timber Evolution continues on with that tradition. A lot of the new upgrades really make this aircraft more durable, has more convenience, and even more capabilities than ever. And it also has a new paint scheme that really gives it a fresh and modern look. So this product has really evolved into one of the smartest, most convenient, capable, and durable timbers yet. Everything from the shock-absorbing landing gear to the Tundra-style tires to the LED landing system, navigation, and probes. So, all right, now we got it out of the box. Let's go ahead and talk about the parts. All right, so we have everything out of the box now. Wow, it's pretty cool to see this thing on the table. And as usual, everything comes so well packed from Horizon Hobby. They really do a fantastic job packing the aircraft in there. No real big surprises. Just take your time getting everything out, and you'll be rewarded with a lot of pieces and parts of this timber. However, if you're familiar with the timbers at all, none of this should look very foreign to you. But there are a lot of pieces and parts because the aircraft does include a lot of things with it. So let's go ahead and just kind of do a brief run through on the parts that come with this brand new Turbo Timber Evolution. All right, we'll get started here with the just working through these parts, and the first one we'll talk about here is the wing. Looks very similar to the on the exterior to the wing that the original Timber or the Turbo Timber has. We have flaps installed. We have ailerons, of course, but what makes this one a little bit different is it's much stiffer. This is one of the things about the Timber Evolution is that the wings are considerably stiffer than they were on let's say like the original Timber. So you'll actually have a lot more ability to kind of have some more authority in the air, especially with the aileron, so you'll be able to roll a little bit quicker. And also they just, yeah, you can just see they do not have any flex at all. I don't even have the spar in there. What's unique about the Turbo Timber Evolution compared to the previous generations is the use of a lot more of composite material in stiffening up the airframe and the wings. And that's evident here, even when you just get this the first wing out of the box here and take a look at it. It does include the LED navigation and strobe lights, just like the original and the Turbo Timber. One thing that I do really like, they have a new pin connector that makes the installation of the wing vastly better than before. I never liked having to plug in all those leads, so I created a huge extension on mine, my original one, so that I could transport it with the wings removed, but everything's still plugged in. And they have really made this awesome pin connector that plugs into the fuselage. That's going to make field assembly so much quicker. Because unfortunately, with the this 1.5 meters aircraft, it will not fit in my my little Fiesta hatchback, so I got to take the wings off. And they've obviously made that process much easier thanks to this pin connector. These servos are also Metal Gear servos, which is fantastic. They were not Metal Gear servos on my original Timber. I had to do the upgrade to that myself. But on the Turbo Timber Evolution, you do get the Metal Gear servos installed right from the factory. If you're familiar with the Timbers, you also know that you get the leading edge slats here. I don't know if I'll put these on or not. That's I'll have to decide on that a little bit later. But they're included in here, and of course they attach right here on the leading edge. And there are two of them that you get with that. You also get this brand new paint scheme that you see here. This bright red and black paint scheme that is new for the Turbo Timber. You got some black stripes on the bottom, which really help for orientation as well. Carbon fiber wing spar. This actually does look, without putting them side by side, it does look like this is a thicker wing spar than my original Timber. I think I remember that one being a much thinner material, but it's been a little bit since I've checked that. And of course you have your bag of hardware here. For the assembly of the Turbo Timber, you don't have to glue anything. Everything is bolted together, and all your hardware is in here. And there's really not that much hardware to it. Otherwise, you get the nylon screws and this little joiner cap here for the wings, very similar to the original Timber and the Turbo Timber. So if you're familiar with those planes already, this is no big surprise at all. Next up, we have both of the horizontal stabilator. Once again, nothing really new here. These slide into place and then are screwed in to secure them to the airframe, and you got that new paint scheme evident on there as well. Just like the Turbo Timber, the Evolution comes with the three-bladed prop here, and comes with a spinner as well. The original Timber, of course, came with a two-blade prop, which I always thought was pretty cool. But now when you see one with a three-blade prop, you're like, yeah, maybe the three-blade prop is actually a little bit cooler than my two-blade. One thing that I usually do is I always paint the tips on these, and I think a white tip with a red stripe on it, I think on this prop would fit this aircraft very well. So if you want to do that, the time to do it is before you assemble it. And I also think it looks totally cool when it's come taxiing towards you and you got the prop spinning there with the outlines on it. Now we're going to go over to the fuselage here. And boy, this thing is very impressive in person here. It's of course got the turboprop nose on it, so just like the same as you do from the Turbo Timber. So it's a lot longer of a nose and a little bit more tapered than the original Timber. And then of course you have the turbine exhaust exits here as well. One thing to note that is very cool about the new one. You see what I just did there? Look at that. The hatch is on the top. I tell you what, one of the things that always drove me nuts about my original Timber was having to flip the airplane upside down to put the battery and flip it back over again. Boom. the hatch comes off the top now. It's magnetic catch. And the other thing that's cool, all around the edges here, they've added plastic. So no more dinging up the foam or anything, taking the battery hatch on and off. I think that is absolutely fantastic. And you can see the composite reinforced tubes inside here. There are 4 carbon fiber rods in this nose section here, stiffening up the area that goes from basically the wings forward. So you can see where that composite structure is really starting to kind of make its presence known in the Turbo Timber Evolution. You do get, it is the new IC3 plug that is inside this. The aircraft is capable of a wide range of batteries. Everything from a 2200 3S, one of my all-time favorites, all the way up to a 4000 4S battery. Yeah, that's a massive battery to put inside here. But you know what? It's got a big battery tray, so you can definitely put that in there. I imagine with that big of a battery, you can fly this thing around all day long. It's going to be impressive. You do have the new Avian ESC buried down inside there. That's a 60 amp ESC, so no modifications needed if you want to go 3S to 4S. But beware that some of the 4S batteries, like the real large 4000s, do have the IC5 connector, so you'll need an adapter to connect these two together. But if you're flying the like a 2200 3S, 4S, 3300 size, it has the IC3 connector already, so no problems there. So no modifications if you do want to go ahead and run 4S. It's good to go as is. I'll probably fly mine mostly on 3S, but we'll most certainly give it a shot in 4S as well. Just like the Turbo Timber, you do have the pair of landing lights here right up into the cowl there. And we're going to go ahead and put the battery tray, or the hatch cover back on here and continue our walk around tour of the aircraft. Inside you have the new AR637TA receiver, and you also have metal gear servos that are already pre-installed. So another real nice feature that you come right from the factory on this. And then you also have the plugs in the back that the wire harnesses from the wings plug right into. Strobe lights, the rotating beacons are already installed here right from the factory, which are really look to be the same ones that the original Timber came with as well. And then of course our large rudder here with installed tail wheel. One thing I do want to note before we kind of move on away from the fuselage here is the landing gear. There's been a number of people who've been kind of having some issues with tearing out the landing gear or damaging the foam around the landing gear on the Timber. I've never had that problem. I have plenty of flights on mine, never had any issues at all. But, really this is a fantastic second aircraft. You move from a trainer to a second aircraft. And I think because of that, I think there needs to be a little bit more durability in terms of the this gear structure area here to really help out, especially with beginner pilots or really, really rough field conditions. Not everybody's going to have a putting green. So knowing that, the engineers over at Horizon Hobby redesigned this entire section here and made it far more robust than before. So the landing gear look the same. They are spring-loaded just as they were before with these gigantic Tundra-style tires on it. But the mounting structure here is improved with the Turbo Timber Evolution. So it's really making this thing a very durable airframe with all the composite material that reinforces the foam. You have the upgraded landing gear mounts down here, and with the new Smart ESC and the 637TA, this really becomes one of the smartest and most durable Timbers to date. Then we'll move on here to the really some of the last pieces here. I'm not going to get all the float parts out, but what I love about the Timber models is right from the factory you get floats right with it. And I have to say, I fly a lot of different float planes, and I always considered these to be like the high watermark of floats. And one of the reasons is because you have the spring-loaded rudder on the back. Each float has a rudder that is spring-loaded, and it also connects with these wires here right up to the rudder. So no unsightly guide rods or having to have servos down by the water. It uses this clear fishing line to do it. And that is a fantastic setup. And what I love about the spring-loaded rudder is that if you land on, let's say you land in kind of a marshy area and you want to taxi right up to the right up to the shore there, and you end up running aground a little bit, the rudder just floats, just kind of pops up out of the way there, so you don't have to worry about any damage. Plus, you can land this on damp grass as well. I've done that a few times with mine. Land on damp grass, the rudder simply pops up out of the way. Really love these floats. Plus, they got the splash guards in here as well. I think this thing is it's a wonderful float plane. I wish my Twin Otter had this on here as well. The rudders are more fixed in the down position, so I always think maybe I can try to incorporate that on my Twin Otter someday. But yeah, these are fantastic floats. All the pieces and parts to attach the floats are included in here as well. And one last new cool thing that this has, which unfortunately I won't be able to use because I don't have enough channels on my radio, is motor reversing. So yeah, that's right. So this has the ability to back up on the ground. So if you're even in the water or if you're on the ground, you want to taxi backwards, this has the ability to do it. And of course, with being the bind and fly model, you do get safe select, so you can bind it with or without safe. It also includes AS3X, which is on all the time. So that wraps up the unboxing of the brand new Turbo Timber Evolution. So yeah, that's right, it is another timber, but really it's the new model year of the timber, and you got to think of it in that way. And this truly is the smartest and most durable timber to date. So let's I'm gonna go grab some tools and start putting this wonderful aircraft together, because once we do that, we get one step closer to getting it to the field. So if you guys got any questions at all on the new Turbo Timber Evolution from E-flite, by all means, leave your comments below. I will do my very best to answer them. Of course, this is a brand new model, so there's not going to be a lot of information out there online, but keep an eye out, obviously, on the Horizon website. They'll have a full write-up with a complete list of all the specifications on it. And by all means, anything else you guys need, leave your comments below. I'm more than happy to help out. Talk to you later. Hey everyone, welcome to the build video of the brand new E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution 1.5 meter. This is the bind and fly model, so it's got an AR636TA already installed in it. And we're going to go through and follow the instruction manual and put it together. But if you're already familiar with the original Timber or the Turbo Timber, you're not in for any surprises on the new Turbo Timber Evolution. It really assembles very similarly. I'm not going to go ahead and do the float assembly today. We're going to just put the landing gear on and use this as a kind of a ground flyer. My original Timber is on floats, and I think that one may just become a dedicated float flyer because I love the way that airplane looks on floats. So this one we're going to do something a little different. We're just going to put the wheels on this one and do the assembly that way. So if you guys got any questions, leave them in the comments below, but I will be following the manual, and that's how we're going to go through and proceed on this build video, okay? All right, so a few things you're going to need before you get started. One, get the manual out. Go ahead and just follow this. And you're going to need a couple tools. I have a pair of Phillips screwdrivers here, and I also have a 13 millimeter wrench. I believe that's going to be all the tools necessary to put together this aircraft. There's no gluing involved. All the fasteners come in these teeny tiny little bags here, so I get them all out so they're ready to rock and roll. But that's really all the tools you're going to need to assemble your Turbo Timber Evolution. The first thing that you're going to want to do during the assembly, following the instructions, is to go ahead and put the prop on. So the prop adapter and spinner come together in a little bag. So we just go ahead and put those in here. It's a collet style, nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, this is pretty common for a lot of the E-flite planes. And we got this beautiful 3-bladed prop. I will eventually paint these tips white and maybe do a little red stripe on there, kind of like a T-28 prop a little bit. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and install the prop just as it came out of the factory. I always like to paint the prop tips because A, they look cool, and B, you can see it when they're spinning, and C, they look cool. So I'll be honest, that's one of the things I just love doing. But for today's exercise, we're just going to go ahead and install this just the way it came out of the box, all right? And this is where you're going to want to use that 13 millimeter wrench to go ahead and tighten this down, okay? And of course, the key is whenever you're installing a prop adapter is to get it tight, but not too tight. There we go. Snug, but not too tight. Usually what I do is I always recommend checking that after a flight or two, just to make sure everything stays tight. You got a lot of rotational forces going on here. And so I usually give it a flight and then take the nose cone off and check to make sure that the prop is indeed tight. Okay, we'll go ahead and put the spinner on. Just uses a Phillips screwdriver. There we go. Very pointed nose cone on the Turbo Timber and the Turbo Timber Evolution compared to the more, I guess, softer shaped cone that is on my original Timber. And that's pretty common, actually. If you look at a turboprop aircraft versus a regular internal combustion engine aircraft, so if you're at your local airport, you'll see that difference. And so that's obviously they have carried that same look over. I actually chrome painted mine on my regular Timber, so it's got a chrome spinner on there. But I think the black spinner with this black anti-glare panel here on top of the aircraft really fits in well with the rest of the paint scheme. It really does look like it belongs out in the kind of in the bush a little bit, you could say. Let's go ahead and flip it over now. And now for this, we're going to go ahead and put in the landing gear. And this really shouldn't be any big surprise for anyone who has a Timber. These assemble very similarly. And for these, you're going to want to use the 3mm by 8mm long machine screws. And they just simply go ahead and install in here. All right, so like I said before, if you're familiar with assembling the Timber before, these landing gear really aren't anything to be of concern. They assemble very similarly. And now, okay, so now we're going to go ahead and get these springs installed. They do include some washers that go with those as well. So you put the bolt or the screw here and the washer together, and then you just simply go ahead and install those into the landing gear area. All right, so after you get the landing gear installed, you go ahead and connect the two springs together, and there are just there are two screws in that you need to remove. Put the spring of the adjacent landing gear into place, and now you are done. Just screw that back in. Now you can see that the spring landing gear do indeed function, and you also get a really good look at when you do this assembly of this redesigned, strengthened area of the landing gear, which really makes this Turbo Timber Evolution more durable than the original versions. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and keep moving on to the next steps here, and that's going to be the installation of the horizontal stabilator. So let's go move some stuff around here and go ahead and install those, shall we? And the installation of these guys is really pretty simple. They slide into place. The elevators lock in with their interlocking joints. And then they are just screwed into place, and then you just do have to attach the elevator servo, and the elevator control rod goes on the outer hole and just snaps into place. So we'll go ahead and get this screwed in first, then we'll go ahead and attach the control horn. Now we go ahead and install the control horn for the elevator, and we put that on the outer hole. All right, so we're quickly running out of pieces on the aircraft here. So we have the elevator installed with the control horn. We have the horizontal stabilator installed, and we're continually moving through the list of parts here. Now the next one depends on whether or not you want to do the installation of the slats or not, and that's on the wings. For this sake, I'm going to go ahead and go without them. I've decided that I have one timber with. I'm going to do one timber without, and we'll see how they compare. What's really cool is they give you these little they're stickers basically that allow you, if you say, you know what, I don't want to run the slats, but I don't want all those cutouts. in the paint scheme, see how you have all these white cutouts in here? Well, let's say I don't really want to do the slats and I don't really want to have these unsightly squares in there. They give you little decal packets so you can actually go ahead and cover those over, and I think that's a really cool idea. So I'm going to be doing that on mine, and we'll try it. We'll fly it without, and maybe I'll decide that I want to do the slats. But I think I'm going to try one airplane without and one airplane with, and we're going to see how well they compare. And just like that, those little white squares are all gone. So those little decals just pop into place there, and that hides it. So if you're not going to run the slats, go ahead and install those little red stickers over there. And if you are going to use the slats, just go ahead and this would be the time to go ahead and install them before you put the wings together. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and put the wings together, which just like any timber before, just put the spar in both halves and assemble. And I'll tell you what, you can definitely tell that with this new, the Evolution, the Turbo Timber Evolution here, this is a far more stiffer wing. And now we're going to go ahead and let's plug in these new wire harnesses. And I think those wire connections there, those pin connectors, are just awesome. That really speeds up the installation of the wing here. So if you got to do field installations, that is such the way to go, rather than trying to plumb all the wires in all together. So we'll just give it a double check, make sure everything is seated. Yep, sure is. And the wing just go ahead and drop on here. And then it's the same joiner plate that everybody who's got a timber is already familiar with. And as usual, that first time around, I always get it upside down. So, and then just like the other timbers, you just go ahead and put on these nylon screws. And just like that, the Turbo Timber Evolution is now fully assembled. Now, I did mention that you don't need any glue to do the assembly. Everything is put together with a screwdriver and a wrench. But however, if you were going to be putting the leading edge slats on, you do actually need to glue those on. So I was a little mistaken when I had said that before, but just to clarify that you can assemble the entire aircraft without the slats with just simply a screwdriver and a 13mm wrench, and everything goes together. But if you are going to put on the leading edge slats, you will need some glue for that. Otherwise, the assembly was super easy. There's a lot of parts when you first get it out of the box, but they go together so well. And of course, about half those parts are actually related to the floats. And since I'm just going to run this one on landing gear for now, we're not going to bother putting the floats together. But if you guys have any questions on the assembly of the Turbo Timber Evolution, by all means, please leave them in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to help out. But if you've assembled the regular timber or the Turbo Timber, you'll have no problems at all with this. It assembles exactly like the original ones do without any issues at all. And if you're new and if you're really looking for your second aircraft and you're wondering what to buy, you've kind of graduated from a trainer and you're looking at what airplane to buy next, the Turbo Timber Evolution by far is definitely one I would consider. I have known plenty of guys who've done it. I use this kind of as an advanced trainer myself, but it's a wonderful airplane for a second pilot or a second aircraft for a pilot to fly. And the assembly of it is definitely easy enough. If you've assembled a trainer, you can most certainly assemble the Turbo Timber Evolution here. There isn't anything on here of any concern or requires any advanced mechanical skill or knowledge. Just read the instruction manual. Just get out your screwdriver, your wrench, and your glue if you put on the leading edge slats, and you can have this thing assembled in no time. So that wraps up the assembly video of the brand new Turbo Timber Evolution here. From E-flite. And so if you guys got any questions at all, just leave them in the comments below. I'm going to go ahead and grab a battery, get this thing bound up, and prepare to take it to the field and go fly it. Hey everyone, welcome to the product overview video on the brand new E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution. Yeah, that's right. It is a new timber model, but it's not really in addition to the timber lineup, it is a replacement for the current turbo timber, which leaves the Horizon Hobby E-flite lineup with 4 timbers, which is exactly what they have today. But the new Turbo Timber Evolution takes everything from the original timber, the turbo timber, the voice of the customer of listening to exactly what timber owners had to say about what they liked, they didn't like about the original and the turbo timber, and it wrapped all those improvements of everything they've learned into this brand new Turbo Timber Evolution. I consider this like the new model year timber model. So yeah, while this release is a timber, it is like the new next generation timber. And I tell you what, they have made improvements from nose to tail, wingtip to wingtip on this thing. Everything has been really looked at and optimized and improved. And I tell you what, in my opinion, I have the original timber, and looking at this Turbo Timber Evolution, it is clear that this really is the best timber to date. So in this product overview video, we're going to start at basically the nose, work our way around the aircraft, and just kind of cover a lot of the really great things that Horizon Hobby has done to take the legendary timber model, which for a lot of us is our very first really STOL model. It was for me. And taken that airplane and really just kind of brought it up to make it even more durable, to make it smarter, even make it even more capable. So let's go ahead and let's get started here right on the nose, shall we? All right, first you have the turbo timber nose. The shape of the nose is what you'd expect from a turbine-powered aircraft. The original timber had more of a conventional kind of flat engine, typical gas-powered engine nose on it. It was much shorter, a little bit wider, and with a 2-blade prop. And as you can see, with the Turbo Timber Evolution, you have that longer nose that's more tapered, it's more slender, with the large turbine exhaust ports on the side, which really give it a pretty awesome look. I mean, if you've seen the like the Draco, for instance, you've probably seen some videos on that thing. You probably know something about that airplane. It looks cool with those great big exhaust stacks coming out. And just like the Turbo Timber, the Turbo Timber Evolution carries on that with these beautiful exhaust stacks coming out. We got a 3-bladed prop up front, very pointy spinner, which is common for a turbine-powered aircraft, and you got the 2 LED landing lights up in the nose as well. So from that standpoint, not a lot has really changed. The power system, of course, is still capable of 3S and 4S as well, and it does have a 60 amp smart Avian ESC installed on it. Now, the next feature I'm going to get to here as we kind of work our way back is one of my all-time favorite things that they have done to this aircraft. If you have the original timber and you have the turbo timber, you know that it's kind of annoying that the battery hatch is on the very bottom. So you got to flip the airplane over, pop off the hatch, put your battery in, put the hatch back on, flip it back over again for everything to start initializing. Well, they have taken care of that. That's no more. So you're wondering, well, where's the battery hatch? Where did they put it? If it's not on the bottom, where is it? Well, so yeah, that's right. So the battery hatch is actually mounted on the top now, and the this anti-glare panel, the top of the cowling here, and the windscreen come off. It's a magnetic catch. And it's got this really great plastic surround molding both on the battery hatch and on the fuselage. So no more dings in your plastic or dings in the foam from taking this on and off. It's all the contact surfaces is now plastic. I thought that's a very, very awesome thing to do. And that exposes the gigantic battery compartment here. It will hold everything from a 2200 3S all the way up to a 5000 series 4S battery will fit inside this battery tray. I mean, this is a massive battery. If you have this thing installed, you could probably fly around for all day. You may have to like pack a lunch just to eat it while you're in the air. This thing will stay in there for so long. So incredible amount of versatility in what the Turbo Timber Evolution will hold in terms of battery. So if you do have the 5000 series though, just be known that it comes with an IC5 connector, and this is the IC3 connector in the aircraft. They do make an adapter. It's a smart adapter cable that includes the center post here, and it will adapt the IC5 to the IC3. Now that's really only for the 5000 series. If you're down in the 4000 series and 2200 series, obviously it's going to bolt or plug directly in. The other thing to note is when you have the battery hatch off, you can see these composite carbon fiber rods that run back and forth inside the nose here. They go from basically the motor mount all the way back into the fuselage here, and it really strengthens this area up. It makes it a lot more durable. So basically the load from the wings, the load from the landing gear, and the thrust from the motor, all of that is really contained inside this kind of a carbon fiber box that's created by these carbon fiber tubes that run throughout the fuselage. Down inside there, you can also see the 60 amp smart ESC is installed in this as well. So, and that's what gives you that 3S, 4S capability, along with the powerful brushless motor as well. Moving back through the fuselage a little bit more, it also has the AR637TA smart receiver installed in it. This is a fantastic receiver. I have it on a few of my airplanes as well, both the T and the TA. So it has telemetry. So if you have a, basically a computerized radio, such as, the DX6 series, NX, 6.8 and IX series radios, you have the ability to gather the telemetry from the receiver, the battery, the ESC, the motor. Everything is communicating to you. So that brings you a lot of really cool functionality. And I believe I even read that you have data logging capability with it as well. You can actually log your flights and review that data afterwards. I've never done that. That's something new for me, but I just learned that the other day, that there's a lot of capability with this smart technology that the more you get into it, the more and more you really learn you can do with it. But to start with, at least, you have the ability to get some very important parameters from the aircraft down to your transmitter on the ground. So really cool feature that Spectrum's come out with, and really just kind of setting that bar really high in terms of what these aircraft can do. These smart airplanes really are incredible. So when I mentioned before, this is the smartest and most durable timber to date. That smart technology is what makes it so smart. So you got smart battery, you got a smart receiver, you have a smart ESC, and that all communicates to your computerized Spectrum transmitter to really give you some really vital information. In terms of durability, got some more things to talk about on the durability scale, and it's still all focused right up here in the nose of the aircraft, right? The landing gear has been strengthened, and really it's the portion where it attaches to the fuselage. I know there's some reports out there of people damaging that area or seeing some stress cracking in that area. They've gone through and completely reinforced the landing gear mounting on the fuselage. It's completely redone. It looks bulletproof. I never had any issues with my original timber. I've had some not so great landings on that thing, but the nice shock absorbing landing gear that you get that really allow the aircraft to settle down, and those big oversized Tundra tires really soak up bumps on gravel, pavement, grass, sand, you name it. It's a great landing gear system that works very well in the timber. But the mounting area in the fuselage seemed to be a little bit of a weak spot. Well, they've completely taken care of that. So the other thing to note is that this really is a fantastic second airplane. So if you move from a trainer to a second airplane and maybe your landings aren't necessarily absolutely perfectly smooth, with this new Turbo Timber Evolution, the upgraded landing gear system where, basically the mounting structure is so much stronger. It's going to make your landings a little bit better in the sense of if you do get one wrong, you don't have to get the glue out later on that day to go ahead and fix it. Also, in terms of durability, they've also strengthened and stiffened the wing section here. This is going to allow for a lot less flexibility in the wing, which then gives you a lot better control on the ailerons as well. So the plane will actually feel a little bit more responsive. I never felt that the original one had any real flex to it, but I can definitely tell you that the wing spar and the wing structure itself is stiffer. You can definitely tell the difference when you handle both of them side by side. Just as with the original Timber and the Turbo Timber and the Timber Turbo Timber Evolution, you do get the lights installed. So you got navigation lights, landing lights, and strobe lights on the end of the wing. You also have these fuselage mounted red rotating beacons on here, which I always thought this thing looks so cool in the evening when you are flying it. Really not much else has really changed on the back half of the aircraft. Still a very similar timber shape back here, the horizontal stabulator, the vertical stab, and the large rudder. Everything back here is pretty much what you would expect if you're familiar with the timber. Nothing dramatically new there. But you will notice that, of course, this is a very unique new paint scheme. It's the bright red and black scheme on this aircraft. It really stands out. I love the anti-glare panel and in front of the windshield here. I thought that's a very cool thing to have on the aircraft. And seeing it here in the house, in the studio, doesn't give it justice. This thing really looks incredible when you get it in its natural setting. I had it out on the beach, I had it out in the yard, took it outside, and when you see the bright sunshine on it, the paint scheme really starts to look good. It's very, very impressive when you get it outside the house and into its natural environment. So, a few more things I wanted to touch on, and that's in terms of something new that's going to be coming out. And as I mentioned before, this is a great second airplane, right? So let's say you bought the Habu or the Apprentice or any of the Horizon larger park-size trainer aircraft, and it came with this DXS radio, right? So you bought the ready-to-fly model. It came with a DXS transmitter, and you're ready to move up, right? You've mastered the Habu, you've mastered the Apprentice, you're ready for your next aircraft, right? Well, the Turbo Timber Evolution here is a fantastic second aircraft, but you want to take advantage of the flaps. Timbers have always had flaps. Even the UMX Timber has flaps, right? Well, traditionally, with the DXS radio, if you want safe to work and you want flaps and you have all your flight controls, you don't have enough channels anymore to operate everything. Well, there is a new firmware update that will be coming soon to the DXS radio, and at some point, all new models of the DXS radio will allow you to have flaps and safe. Yeah, that's right. You basically get an extra channel out of this, guys, so you don't have to go out and buy a brand new expensive radio to fly this aircraft. Your DXS will work. You could take advantage of flaps and safe. However, there's some caveats to that. Since this is not a programmable computerized radio, you are stuck with the flap settings that it comes with, okay? So your takeoff flaps and your landing flaps are set. You can't adjust it. You can't say, I want to adjust my flap travel to less or more or anything. You are stuck to exactly what it comes with. That's not a bad thing. However, you also can't mix the elevator and flap together. So in other words, if you currently put you got a programmable radio, you program it so that when the flaps come down, you get some movement of the elevator to prevent kind of this ballooning or pitching up of the aircraft, right? Well, you don't have the ability to do that. However, if you fly with safe, you can change the mode of safe that you're in when you get ready to change to give it something on the flap input. If you want to take off flaps or full flaps, you can use one of the other modes. You can maybe use intermediate mode or beginner mode, and what that will do, you couple that with flipping of the flap switch, that will help prevent some of that ballooning. You'll keep the aircraft more stable. But with proper airspeed management, you could probably get away with it even without safe. But just to let you know that there is some limitations that come in when you have a non-computerized radio in flaps. But you will have the ability after a firmware update to do that, where you can still have safe and you can still have your flaps and as well as the rest of your controls. So that's a very exciting thing. And that's really one of the things that makes this new Turbo Timber Evolution coupled with a DXS radio just a fantastic way to graduate from a trainer into a more advanced aircraft. And one of the other things that I really love about the entire Timber lineup, the original Timber, the Turbo Timber, and the new Timber Turbo Evolution here, is that it comes with floats. And I love the floats that it comes with the spring-loaded rudder on the back that I talked about in the unboxing video. They're great. I think that those floats are absolutely fantastic. And that comes with the aircraft. So you get a lot of value with this new Turbo Timber Evolution, just as you did with the original Timber and just as you did with the Turbo Timber. And as I mentioned before, this new model does replace the Turbo Timber. That model will be discontinued. This is the new version that's going to be coming out. And I think they did a fantastic job of really taking a lot of the elements of the original Timber, the Turbo Timber, listening to what the customers have to say and incorporating that into this aircraft. They've made it more durable, they've made it smarter, and they've made it even more convenient. And of course, still, my favorite feature of it is gotta be this battery hatch that comes off on the top. No more flipping the aircraft upside down, back and forth. Something else that I thought is also very convenient, I drive a small car. I got a Ford Fiesta, so not a lot of room to put an airplane of this size in. So I have to remove the wings to do so. But the wings now come with like a pin connector that goes into the fuselage, rather than all the individual leads. Because you got lights, you got ailerons, and you got flaps. And so now you have just a set of pin connectors that go into the aircraft and plug in. That will make things very convenient for those of us who have to take the wings off. It's also worth noting that unlike the original Timber, this does include all metal gear servos. Mine came without those, and I had it since. I've added those for more durability, but you get those with the Turbo Timber Evolution as well. So a lot of really great features, a lot of really cool stuff that they've done, and this truly is the smartest, most capable, and durable timber yet. Color me very impressed. So it's time for me to get the aircraft ready to go. I gotta get the battery in it, get it bound, check the center of gravity, and get this thing to the flying field. But I gotta say, Horizon really did their homework on this. So the engineers at Horizon and E-flite have really pulled off something really spectacular here. And the aircraft, it looks cool. I'm sure it's gonna fly absolutely awesome. It does have the optional slats that I do not have installed. You can go ahead and put those on if you want. I have one with the slats already, so I left it off this one. But you get these cool little stickers if you want to put over the where those slats go. Personal preference if you want to install them or not. But I tell you what, they've given you all these great options. You can put it on floats, you can put it on landing gear, you can add the slats, leave off the slats, you can fly on 3S, you can fly on 4S. On 4S, this thing will get off the ground in like 2 feet. You can fly it from dirt, you can fly it from gravel, you can fly it from all sorts of things, you name it. This is just an incredibly capable aircraft, which is probably why it's one of the best-selling RC aircraft on the market. And I think with these new improvements, it will continue to be one of the best-selling and most versatile, capable, and durable RC aircraft on the market. If you guys got any questions at all on the new Turbo Timber Evolution, by all means, leave them in your comments below. Be more than happy to help you out. But I'm gonna go cut this video now so I can go get this thing ready to fly and get it in the air. Hey everyone, welcome to the flight review of the all-new E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution. So we're out here at the Grand Haven RC Flying Club. It's a beautiful night. We got some thunderstorms in the background. We got probably about a 5-6 mile an hour crosswind, but shouldn't be any issue for this awesome Turbo Timber Evolution. So our very first flight we're going to be doing is going to be on a 2200 3S battery, and that battery is positioned just about as far forward as it will go in order to get the aircraft to balance at 65 millimeters back from the leading edge. And we're going to do the first flight here without any of the slats installed. And it's actually using the exact same setup that I have on my original Timber. So it's going to have a lot less throws on the flaps and on the ailerons. But I want to do that so I get a real good comparison of how the new Turbo Timber Evolution flies compared to the original the original Timber. We're also going to try out 2 other batteries. So after this video is done, we're going to switch batteries. We're going to try a 2200 4S battery, and then we're going to go all the way up to a 4000 3S, and we're going to see what the performance difference is between the 2200 3S, 2200 4S, and then a little bit heavier 3S battery, and see how the plane really kind of reacts differently. So let's go ahead and get this thing fired up, shall we? All right, here we go. We're taking off with the Turbo Timber Evolution. We're going to do a flaps up takeoff here. Here we go. Roll out. Full power. We're in the air. Do a nice climb out here. That's no flaps on this. Get out into the pattern here. I do have to say that new paint scheme, that red really shines. Especially in this background of these white clouds. It's amazing how well that red paint really pops in these conditions here. A little bit of wind up there, not very much. It is a crosswind. You can see that AS3X is definitely working. We'll go ahead and bring it down here close to the field. There we go. Yeah, it definitely flies very much like a Timber. I mean, it's really no surprise. I mean, there's fingers off right now, hands off the sticks, and boy, it's perfectly perfectly trimmed right from the factory. No issues there. Climb out. Yeah, I mean, I would say there's nothing too surprising about the Turbo Evolution. It flies very similar. So if you're used to the original, it's going to be very, very similar. It's amazing how stable the airplane is. I mean, look at this, just completely hands off. Nothing, see? No hands. It's just amazing. It's very stable, and even in this wind, it's really not doing much. Here we go, a little bit of more of a bank angle there. We'll bring it around. It's just such a stable, easy flying airplane. Bring it around. Let's do we'll get on the throttle a little bit here. Let's crank it up to, we'll do a full throttle pass here, all right? So we'll bring it down a little bit. Got a nice rainbow in the background. Yeah, I feel like I said, if you're used to the Timber, you'll be very used to this one. It does feel a little bit more responsive. I think the Metal Gear servos and that stiffer wing do make it feel a little bit more responsive. Of course, I don't have the slats on there too, so that may be also playing a factor in here. So let's throttle up. Here we go. Full power on 3S. We are out in climbing out. All right, so yeah, this, like overall, like I said, it's pretty easy to fly. Let's just do a quick aileron roll here. There we go. Really, really easy. No problems at all. All right, we're gonna do one more lap, and then we're gonna go ahead and bring it in for landing. We do have some air traffic coming in, so I do want to get down before he arrives. So we're just gonna come around for one more pass here. We'll come in nice and low, and then we will come down for a nice landing. You see the navigation, the landing lights all working. There we go. AS3X working away. Bring it around. We're going to just do a half flap landing. We do have a little bit of crosswind, so that will play into the landing, all right? All right, so we're going to go ahead and bring her on in now. Okay. Here we go. Look at that thing. Nice slow speed performance. Easy, easy. Look at this thing. Slowing right down into the wind. Power off. And there we go. So like I said, really easy flying airplane. No problems whatsoever. 3S has got plenty of power. I mean, you don't need 4S. Obviously, it's capable of 4S, but that was a beautiful 3S flight and a little bit of a crosswind. It's about a 6-8 mile an hour crosswind. No complaints at all. So we're going to go ahead and get the 4S battery thrown in there and see if we see any difference at all in performance between a 3S battery and a 4S battery. Be a little bit heavier, so we'll obviously recheck the center of gravity and see what that does in terms of how the plane will fly. All right, so we've completed the 3S flight on the new E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution, and now we're going to try a 2200 4S battery, and it's located about 3/8 of an inch back from the kind of the front of the bulkhead here, and that's where the aircraft will balance at 65 millimeters from the front without the slats installed. I was very happy with 3S performance. I don't think it needs 4S, but I have a feeling it's going to fly much more like a turboprop on 4S than the 3S did. I think the 3S is a great fit for the original Timber, but I have a feeling the 4S is actually going to be a little bit better fit for this new turboprop version of the Timber. Let's go ahead and get the thing in the air, shall we? Okay. All right, so now we're going to do the 4S flight. I did bump the rates up a little bit. We're a little higher than my normal Timber is, and we're higher rates than than I flew with the 3S battery. And
takeoff flaps.
We're going to go with a flaps takeoff. All right, here we go. Flaps takeoff, 4S battery. Here we go. Let's punch it. And we're in the air. Look at that. That's like a turboprop. That is incredible. I don't know what that rollout was, but you measure that in just a few feet. I bet we were in the air in about 24 to 36 inches max. So that's just takeoff flaps. My flap settings are actually half of what the manual suggests. All right, so we're going to bring her on down. Here we go. Look at that. Full power,
full beans on that. Definitely much faster on 4S than 3S. You can really feel the thrust on this thing at full power. Once again, that beautiful red paint scheme just shines in this lighting conditions. Some of my other planes with more of a blue finish, you're not going to get this much contrast in the sky, but this red really, really looks awesome in this lighting conditions in this sky. All right, here we go. Nice big bank here. Let's go ahead and bring her down here. There we go. Nicely done. Look at that. How about another aileron roll, shall we? Let's do another one. Here we go. Up. Yeah, definitely a little bit crisper on the aileron rolls with that more higher rate on the aileron. And of course, a little bit more airspeed too really made that a very crisp turn. And that's where, you know, with the original Timber with my slats on it, and a little bit, I guess, not as stiff wing, you're not going to be able to roll nearly that crisp. I mean, that's a very crisp roll for a Timber. I mean, it's a stall plane. It's not an aerobatic sport plane. It's a stall plane, and it didn't have any issues at all. I'll tell you what, this thing is just such an easy flying plane. It does not feel overpowered on 4S. It's not like, you know, I'm a big scale guy, so I'm not one to really fly too fast or out of control. So for me, 4S still feels like a scale turboprop and not out of, you know, it's not way out of control or out of scale. To me, it feels like a turboprop should. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm kind of digging 4S 2200 in the Timber. It doesn't feel too heavy, not by any means. Of course, it's not that much more than the 3S powered one. Batteries are about the same. Did move it back just a skosh to get it to balance right. But I'm really happy and really, really loving this airplane on 4S. And I'm not even flying this thing, you know, fast on 4S. Okay, maybe a little quick. How about another full power pass here? Climb out, look at that. No problem. Getting into the air, lots of power. Yeah, it's pretty cool on 4S. In fact, I would go as far as saying, I think I'm a 2200 4S guy when it comes to
3 minutes.
coming to this plane. So we're gonna do one more pass here, and then we're gonna go ahead and bring her in. Nothing really too surprising about this airplane. It's just so stable and easy. Look at nice slow speed. Here we go. Let's nice and slow. Power up. Climb it out. Look at that thing go. Boom. I couldn't do that with my original on 3S. All right, let's go ahead and let's bring her down for a landing, shall we? Power's all the way off. Idling her on the way in. All right, we'll get back on the power just a little bit here. We're gonna do a takeoff flaps landing here, and then we're gonna go to full flap here. Look at a little bit of ballooning up there. I was a little too much airspeed, so that's my bad. I do not have any elevator to flat mix on this. Boop, here we go. Bring her in, nice and good. Look at that. I tell you what, it's just such a nice airplane. No complaints at all. So yeah, which do I prefer, 3S or 4S? I'm going with 4S. I think that's my preference for this thing. It flies like a turboprop. I love it. All right, we're gonna try a heavier battery now and see how that compares. But that wraps up the 4S flight of the Turbo Timber Evolution. And so far, that's my favorite setup. All right, so we're here with the Turbo Timber Evolution. We've tried a 2200 3S, a 2200 4S. And for this flight, we're gonna try a 4,000 milliamp per hour 3S, all right? So it's a little bit heavier of a battery, should give you a lot more flight time. All right, so this is the 4,000 milliamp 3S battery. So a little bit more weight, but back to 3S power. So we're just gonna do a kind of a longer takeoff, not a stall takeoff on this one, so no flaps. Here we go, power coming up. There we go, nice scale takeoff. Even though it's not really scale for a stall plane, it was a little bit longer. So let's just see, does it fly any different with a heavier battery on it that we can tell? So let's just do hands off. No. No difference at all. I do not feel any different flight characteristics so far. With my Cherokee, I've noticed it lands better with a little bit heavier of a battery. So we'll see on landing if it's any different. But I'll tell you what, from takeoff, flying the pattern, it does not feel any different at all with a heavier weight battery in it. Come in nice and low here. There we go. I'll tell you, the stability of a Timber is just unmatched. It's just crazy. It's just such an easy flying airplane. I mean, you can see why Horizon recommends this for a second airplane. I mean, if you came out of a trainer, let's say you mastered a Habu or you mastered an Apprentice, you would have no trouble flying the Timber. And with all their new improvements they made to the Turbo Timber Evolution, the plane is even more durable and more convenient than the original. And the original was a pretty good airplane. I mean, it's really one of the best-selling RC planes, and it's easy to see why. I mean, it's just such an easy flying airplane. I mean, it's like I could talk through here, just relax. Not all planes are like that. Some of my Warbirds, some EDFs, a little bit more. You got to be on top of your game, but here I can just relax a little bit, enjoy flying the airplane. I got a beautiful thunderstorm behind me, makes it look very cool. So I got a nice background to fly in. There's almost no wind now. It's just a nice, easy flying airplane. So yeah, no issues at all flying with a heavier battery. If you're concerned that a heavier battery is gonna really affect the performance, the answer is no. I see nothing so far that would indicate to me a problem with going a heavier battery. Back to 3S power, and no doubt I am much happier with 4S power. Not 3S is bad. I mean, this is still an awesome flying airplane. It's very relaxing, easy to fly. But I'll tell you what, for a turboprop, it kind of needs the 4S just because of the fact that you'd expect that performance out of a turboprop. It's not underpowered on 3S, so don't get me wrong. But I just kind of like it on 4S. But 3S is totally fine. So let's just bring her on in here. Look at that. Nice. Look at it. Such a beautiful airplane. You get a great look at how that red and white paint looks against this background. It's incredible. So let's come in. Let's do a nice slow pass here with our flaps, shall we?
Takeoff flaps.
So let's slow her way
Time
down.
remaining 3 minutes.
Way down. Here we go. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Here we go. Look at this thing. Just hanging in the air. Just hanging. That's takeoff flaps. My takeoff flaps, remember, are not as much as the factory recommends. So let's do flaps up and power out of it. Easy, easy, easy. So with that, let's go ahead and let's just set up for a landing now. And let's see if it lands any different with a heavier battery, shall we? So let's do takeoff flaps. Here we go. Bring it around on let's turn base, let's turn final. Let's see, heavier battery, any difference in landing?
Hang on, buddy.
Power down.
Landing flaps.
Full flaps.
Hang on.
Settling in very nicely. I think it lands just fine on...
Flaps up.
I think it lands fine with a heavier battery, a lighter battery, a 3S battery, a 4S battery. I didn't really notice too much of a difference. I think more difference is actually probably the lack of wind that's really come down. I think the landings are a little bit smoother now that the wind's dropped down a little bit, especially when you use flaps. But yeah, wow. So there we go. That wraps up the flight review videos of 3 different batteries, 3S powered, 4S powered on the new Turbo Timber Evolution. Fantastic flying airplane. Leave your questions and comments below. Thanks, guys.
Hey everyone, welcome to the E-flite Turbo Timber Evolution. It's kind of a debrief, really. We've done a couple review videos, we've done some flight videos, but there's a couple topics that I did want to cover now that I have a lot more experience with this aircraft. I've flown it a bunch of times over the last few weeks, and now I got a really good feel for kind of my preferences on the aircraft. How does it compare to the original Turbo Timber, and a couple other things that may have been missed in some of the previous videos. So one of the first things I wanted to cover was actually on the on the tail here, on the horizontal stabilator. Unfortunately, when I edited the video of the assembly, I accidentally cut out the portion where I put the wing spar into place. There is a wing, or there is a spar. It's not a wing spar. It's a rod that goes through the horizontal stabilator, through the fuselage, and out the other side. And that got cut, unfortunately. So I wanted to cover that right away. So if you watched the assembly video and you thought I was missing something, you're right. That is true. To be a note, typically the spar that goes in the tail is a carbon fiber rod. Well, in the Turbo Timber Evolution, that rod is actually steel, or it's metal. So it's a lot heavier than what you are expecting. So if you thought that was part of the floats, you are wrong. It's actually the spar that goes in the horizontal stabilator here. So just to let you guys know that if you're doing the assembly, make sure you put that in there. If not, you'll have a very floppy tail that's probably not going to work so well. So with that said, you say, well, why is it steel instead of carbon fiber? Well, some of that is to offset the large batteries that you can put in it. And I did have some questions on the batteries, so I did want to cover that again. You can put a 5,000 milliamp 4S battery inside here. So I'm actually going to put that in right now and demonstrate how well that fits so you guys can see. All right, so there we go. There is a 5,000 4S battery placed in the battery tray. As you can see, there's plenty of room around here for your fingers, for the straps. Now then, remember, this is not where the center of gravity is. I just want to demonstrate kind of where the battery can fit. The battery tray does extend all the way up to this front bulkhead here, and you can set the battery back. So if you're wondering if that battery will fit, the answer is yes. So yeah, that's the largest size battery that you could fit in the timber. As you can see, no problem at all. There were some concerns about how big of a battery you could put in there. I have not flown with that battery yet. I have flown on a 4000 3S. I've flown on a 2200 4S and a 2200 3S. And as you can see, by putting this gigantic battery in, you guys got plenty of room for these smaller packs. In terms of my recommendation, based on my flight experience with the Turbo Timber Evolution, I do prefer 4S power, but I would probably look for something in the range of probably about a 3,300 to 4,000 size battery. I think that's probably the best trade-off in terms of flight time, performance, and weight. Not that you can't fly with this, obviously, but you're going to add a lot of weight to the aircraft. And for me, for my personal preference, I'd be looking for 4S powered, somewhere in that probably that 3,400 to 4,000 range, so like a 3,600 4S. That to me gives you probably the best balance of performance. And I do think as well that this plane, I think, reacts extremely well to 4S power. I love my original Timber on 3S. I think it's perfect on 3S. It flies exactly how I think it should. This one being modeled after a turboprop model, I do like the 4S battery just a little bit more. It gives you a little bit more grunt. It also sounds really cool with that 3-blade prop out there when you go whizzing by on 4S. And it just seems to me like if I wanted to fly a turboprop, that's the kind of performance I'd be looking for. And they got that out of the 4S. 3S is still an absolutely fantastic battery, no complaints at all about it. But if you want that turboprop style performance, then I think you're going to want to go to 4S. If you're a beginner pilot and this is your second aircraft or your third aircraft, stick with 3S. You can always go to 4S a little bit later, but I'd stick with 3S if you're more of on the beginner scale. If you're intermediate on up, definitely go to 4S. If you're going to do a lot of aerobatics with the aircraft and really ring it out, or you want some maximum stall takeoff where you can go full flaps, mash the throttle, and get in the air, I think 4S is probably the way you're going to want to go. In terms of slow speed performance, slats versus no slats. So let me grab a slat here. So just like the original Timber, the slats come removed. You can go ahead and install them. They go right here on the leading edge of the wing, and they do provide significantly more lift and also more slow speed performance. My original has the slats installed, and I decided on this one I would try it without. I'm going to see which one do I like better. as it turns out, I think I like the aircraft better without the slats. I like to come in on my landings with a little bit more airspeed, so it's kind of like not really a short takeoff and landing aircraft with me flying it, but I like to come in with a little bit more airspeed. I think my landings are much smoother, my rollouts are a little bit longer, so I actually like going without the slats, and I also go with less flap deflection than what the manual suggests. I find that with too much flap deflection for me, it slows the aircraft down too much, and instead of a nice gentle landing, it kind of just plops down. It's a little bit more difficult, at least for me, for my flying style, to get a really nice smooth landing when the aircraft is full flap with the slats on it. So my preference is to fly without the slats and a little bit less flap deflection than what the manual suggests. I also go with a 4-second deployment time, and I don't have any elevator mix on it. However, really with the Timber, I think an elevator to flat mix is probably a pretty good idea. If you're new to flaps and you're not used to what speed you want to be going at and you're afraid the aircraft ballooning up, by all means follow the manual suggestion and program the elevator and flap mix. But like for me, I don't usually fly with it. I'm more comfortable without it, and I like my landings a little bit longer, a little bit faster, so less flap, no slats. And on takeoff, I'm not really big into the real short takeoff either. So, and at both ends of the stall spectrum there, short takeoff and landing, I actually go the other direction. I like a little bit longer of a takeoff and a longer of a landing. So, for my personal preference, no slats is the way to go for me. If you are looking for more slow speed performance, you want to really get this thing as slow as possible, get it down to a crawl in the air, you're going to definitely want to use the slats, and you're definitely going to want to use as much of the flap deflection as in the manual. Also note that if you're going to go for a lot of low speed performance, you're going to also want to make sure that you got all your deflection on your control surfaces, aileron, elevator, rudder, because you're not going to have as much air moving over the surfaces. So if you're going slow, you're going to need all these surfaces moving to the most that they can go in order to get you to any type of control. For me, since I fly a little bit quicker with my civilian planes, I actually go with, I think I got 65% throw on the ailerons, and that's what I fly at. So it's lower than low rates, and that's where I find the aircraft flies how I like it. It's totally a personal preference for what you guys do, but if you're gonna wanna go for low speed performance, you wanna go with more deflection on the control surfaces, more throw than what I usually fly with. I know that going into this, that my ailerons do not have as much throw as I will need for low speed performance, so I tend to avoid getting too slow. With my other Timber, I have struggled a little bit at low speed and having a good, comfortable feel for how the airplane reacts. So I went a little bit different setup on this aircraft. In terms of how well does it fly, it's a Timber. It's incredibly stable. It really is. I have flown I flew in a terrible crosswind just recently, and the airplane did just fine. I have flown on calm nights, I've flown at dusk, I've flown in daylight, I've flown in a number of configurations, and it just amazes me every time, the stability of the Timber platform. The Turbo Timber Evolution is just as stable as the original Timber. I have never flown the Turbo Timber as a comparison, but I bet it's going to be exactly the same. You do get more performance out of the Evolution here with the 4S power than I have with my 3S powered original. Everybody should realize that's no big deal. The smaller diameter 3-bladed prop, you get a lot less grass clippings on it than I do with my my 2-blade on my original Timber, so you don't have as much cleaning up to do. But overall, like I said, the aircraft is really, really well balanced. It's easy to fly. If you're looking for a second airplane, I highly suggest the Timber lineup. Maybe not the Timber X. That's obviously really geared more towards aerobatics. But I think the Turbo Timber Evolution is an absolutely fantastic second airplane. And if I were you, I would probably actually start off maybe without the slats and get used to the aircraft first, and then come back and decide if you want to go ahead and put these on. You can always do that later if you so choose, and get to more of that stall type performance out of the aircraft, which is really what it's designed to do. And if you're flying in a confined area, then by all means, you're going to want all that low speed performance. You're going to want the slats on, and you're going to really want to make sure you can control the aircraft in a small environment. I fly at a club field that's located at an airport. We get a huge expanse of area to fly in, so I don't really need all that low speed performance that the Timber platform will give me. Navigation lights, of course, work absolutely phenomenal, just as they do on the original Timber. When you're coming in on final approach and you got the navigation lights pointing straight at you and the strobes out on the wingtips, it's totally cool. It's one of my favorite features of the Timber lineup. The one thing that we have not really touched on yet in any of the other videos is the floats. So let me go ahead and grab those. All right, so here we have the floats. They are assembled now, and they have this really nice splash guard that's on the leading edge here on towards the front. Otherwise, you got the metal construction here. You got and people have asked, how do the rudders steer? Well, there is a fishing line here that connects right to the rudder, and when the rudder turns, it actually go ahead and it moves the rudder as well. And these are spring loaded too, so if you end up kind of running up on the shore a little bit, these will pop up out of the way, and you won't have to worry about breaking them off. Another one of the features that we haven't really talked about very much on the Turbo Timber Evolution is reversing the prop. You'll need you'll need more channels. You need like a 7 or 8 channel receiver or transmitter to do that, and the instructions are out there on how to do that. In fact, my early copy of the instructions, I couldn't find it in there, so I looked at the Draco manual. It's in there as well, and it's actually a pretty simple setup. People ask, why do you want to reverse the prop? Well, if you are flying with the floats, reversing the prop is a wonderful thing, because I'll tell you what, I've flown on water a bunch of times. The other guys in my club have flown on water, and you'd always find something out in the water that snags the float, or it gets hung up, and you say, I really wish I could back the airplane up a little bit, turn, and then go on my way. And instead you have to go trudging out there into the water and rescue your airplane. The Turbo Timber Evolution, you can reverse the prop. So if you get in a situation on the water where you need to back it up, go ahead and reverse the prop and back the aircraft up and get on your way. With the wheels, you could do the same thing in the pits. If you want to back the aircraft up and then head out to the taxiway, you can do that as well. I see the bigger value actually on the water versus then on the ground with the reversing prop, just because of the fact that I've had to go out in the water before and rescue one of my airplanes because it's hung up on something that I wish I could have just put it in reverse and backed it up. So overall, final thoughts on the Turbo Timber Evolution is, well, it is a Timber, like I pointed out before. It is a fantastic, stable aircraft. It's suitable for beginners, intermediate, and experienced pilot. It has SAFE, it has AS3X, it has smart telemetry. You can get all sorts of data from the aircraft right down on your transmitter. It's really just an easy plane to fly, and it's a joy in the air. I have to say that now that I have flown this one and I have flown my original, I do have my preferences towards this one. And two of the biggest reasons for that, and it's not 4S power, it is it's the wire, the pin connection wires here that plug right into the fuselage here. That has made transporting the aircraft in the field assembly so much easier than the original. I used to have to hate dealing with the wings on my original one. I always dinged up the slats, and I had the wires I had to plug in. It was a mess. I love that. The fact that I can plug 2 wires in the back, run down the screws, and I am in the air. And the second one, of course, is the front battery hatch here. Wow, that another one of those fantastic improvements. I can load batteries so quickly when I'm out there on the field. That is great. Yeah, they've upgraded the landing gear. They're beefier, they're stronger, all that stuff. I never had any problem with the original one. I got a ton of flights on my original Timber, and I've got some flights that landed not so great, and I got some flights in some questionable areas that probably shouldn't be operating an RC plane from. And I'll tell you what, I've never had any issues with the landing gear, but they are beefed up. They are stronger on the Turbo Timber Evolution, just in case you were one of those that did have any trouble with it. And honestly, for a kind of a beginner second airplane, it's great to have a really durable set of landing gear, because yeah, you know, we don't get every single one of our landings perfect. So even as you get more experience, you still get some that aren't so perfect. So overall, great aircraft. Would I recommend buying it? Yeah, absolutely. If you had the original Timber, would it be worth upgrading to? For me, yes, I think it is. And like I pointed out, the ease of the connections of the wings, the top mounted battery, those things to me make transporting the airplane so much easier that I think that in itself is worth upgrading from the Turbo Timber and the original Timber right there. Performance-wise, I'm happy with it on 3S and 4S. I do prefer the 4S being the turboprop, but it's fine either way. I would definitely, if I was in the market for a STOL aircraft, this would definitely be on the top of the list. And if I had one of the early models and I was really getting tired of having to take the wings on and off to transport it, this would definitely be the perfect solution. So that wraps up pretty much my kind of final thoughts and overview on the Turbo Timber Evolution. If you guys got any questions at all on the aircraft, by all means, leave them in the comments below. I do have some more flight videos coming. Unfortunately, the weather has been absolutely dismal here in Michigan, where I haven't been able to get nearly as many flights in as I had hoped. So, but I will be working on getting some more of those, including some aerobatic flights with a club member behind the sticks on it, because I'm not the best at aerobatics. So, like I said, got any questions, leave in your comments below.